thinking about holiday stories, and I've told many because I've been here so many times, but I've had one I've been kind of holding on to for a while because I just it just wasn't ready. And somehow this year, it's ready now. And I'm so glad I get to share it with you. The winter of my senior year of college, I decided that I was going to get holiday seasonal work at the local mall. And I figured this was going to be pretty easy because I had already worked at the same mall for 2 years at Brookstone. You know, it's like one of those kids holding the clipboard with the apron while people were shopping for bronze nose hair trimmers and monogrammed kaleidoscopes and other really important stuff like that. If I could sell that, I could sell anything, right? But when I put my resume in all over the mall, no one called me back, not Express, not Macy's, not Bloomingdale's, until Sears got back to me. I was not picky. That was great. So I took my nose ring out, and I got spruced up, and I went to my orientation. The woman who was the manager for the holiday season was named Lisa, and she wore head-to-toe lavender with nails to match, and she was very cheerful. She brought me into a tiny little beige room with a VCR for my orientation session, where I learned to not lift with my back and to be nice, which I had under control. And then she gave me my assignment. She said, "You're going to be working the perfume counter." There were 2 really solid reasons why I should not work the perfume counter. The first being that I was an art student. And perfume, this like commercially packaged, commodified ideal of beauty, like totally went against the stuff that I cared about at art school. Most of my friends smelled of patchouli, sweat, and marijuana. We did not wear perfume. And secondly, which is really maybe should be first, is that I'm kind of allergic to perfume. Like, I don't know exactly how, but I know that when my mother wears like Estee Lauder, blah, 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 I run to the other side of the house. Because if I'm there when she sprays it, my sinuses swell up. Sometimes I get a migraine. The actual opening of this same mall, I had gone to Crabtree and Evelyn with my girlfriends and was so nauseous I had to run out. And it was probably that like gardenia, licorice room spray kind of combination stuff. Whatever it was super bad news. And so I had all these ideas of what could totally go wrong working the perfume counter. But I was 20 and not that good at advocacy and negotiation, and I didn't say any of that stuff. I just said, "Are there like any other positions I could have?" And Lisa went from super chipper to cool and bureaucratic, and she said, "No, lots of people want this position. Take it or leave it." And so I took it. And now the Sears perfume counter back in the early 90s was really quite a thing of beauty. It was like a 3-sided glass display case that was just packed full of perfumes. And I can still remember the names, like, Giorgio and Poison and Chloe and Obsession and Dracar Noir, all the good stuff. And it was the whole case. And then on top of the case were all these little spray bottles of testers that anyone could go in and spray for free anytime they wanted. And in the middle of all that action was the cash register, and behind the cash register was little old me. And roughly 1,000 people came to Sears each day during the holiday season. And I think roughly 300 of those came and shopped in the perfume department, and at least 100 felt totally comfortable spraying those testers as much as they wanted. And of those, there were about 10 each day who thought it was okay to spray that stuff on me. These were mostly older gentlemen. I think they just saw me as a stand-in for their granddaughter or maybe their mistress, and I'm really not sure, but they would ask at least, right? They were classy, they asked. And then I would say no, and I would politely give them a piece of paper they could spray the perfume on. All but this one guy who was small and slight and fast, and his hand shot out like a snapping turtle, grabbed my wrist, and sprayed perfume before I even knew what happened. And the sting on my wrist, it was like poison. I'm not sure it was poison because I don't remember, but it was awful. The procedure to leave work each day was very, very dense. I had to take off my clothes and immediately throw them in the laundry. I had to take a shower and wash my hair every night to try and get out the smell. But you know what they say about fishermen and how you can never quite get? It is so the same with perfume counter work. It was like I was sweating this just unholy mix of smells every night. I couldn't get rid of it. My sinuses were permanently clogged. They just swelled up within the first 5 minutes and just stayed that way, which might have been a blessing. And it was just like that until Christmas Day when we all had off. And I just had a break from all the stench. And then we all had to return the next day to do returns. And there were two kinds of returns. There were the folks who were really just hoping to make some cash. You know, they just were happy to return the cologne or, you know, whatever it was and get some money, which was a little depressing, but okay. And then there were the people who were just utterly bewildered that someone had gifted them this thing to begin with. They were like, I don't know why he thought I'd like that. And I felt like I wish I could go back in time and just tell the person when they were buying it, like guy, like, no, if you don't know that the person likes the perfume, do not buy it for them. It is so personal, smell, right? It's like deep down who we are. It's the stuff we had before we had, you know, the printed word and internet and fire even. We had smell. Like, we've had it a long time. And as much as my friends care about smelling unwashed and patchoulied, and I care about smelling like no perfume whatsoever, these people in this store are buying this stuff to say something about who they are. And this was deep stuff. Also, not that important, because I'm temporary, and I don't have to stay here and do this any longer. So on my exit interview day, I turned in my timesheet, I met with Lisa Lavender, we had a nice chat, and she said, if you want to come back next year, we'd be happy to have you. And I smiled and nodded and sort of stared off into the middle distance. And if I could have seen my future then, I would have known as an art school graduate, it was going to be full of retail. There were bagels, there were bookstores, there were box offices, but never again was there a perfume counter. Thank you.